So after former President Obama claimed credit for our current economic boom yesterday, President Trump fired back, saying the boom is due to rolling back Obama's policies by cutting regulations and taxes. So who's right? Who cares? Think about it. The debate we're having isn't over how great things are. That ship has sailed. The media and the Dems see there's no more denying the success, so now it's about quibbling over credit. Fine, let the Dems have it. It won't win them election, but it might reduce their tier. Divorce rumors continue to escalate for the Obamas. Hopefully they can settle it like men.
Greg Gutfeld just delivered a blunt assessment of Barack Obama's legacy, and it landed hard. There was no soft language and no hesitation. The charm, the soaring speeches, the historic symbolism. Gutfeld labeled it all as carefully staged optics rather than lasting achievement. With a mix of biting sarcasm and pointed facts, he cut through the familiar hope and change narrative and challenged the story many still accept without question. 8 years marked by unmet promises, non-stop media praise, and selective accountability were suddenly placed under a harsh spotlight. If Obama's record has always felt beyond criticism, Gutfeld flipped that assumption on its head and posed the question many avoid. What lasting problems were actually solved?
Is it helping the party to tell them to return to the rhetoric that helped them lose in 2024, like the dictator kind of stuff? It doesn't work on half the country. It's not going to get any better.
I don't think they have answers. You know, and is it me? He's looking banged up.
Yeah, he's been having
it's the first time. It's something I've never seen with him. He looks.
According to Gutfeld, Obama engineered one of the most effective political illusions of modern times. 8 years of disappointment were packaged with the polish of a blockbuster series critics praised endlessly. But Gutfeld didn't need special effects to dismantle it. Armed with a sharp delivery and an impatience for surface-level praise, he argued that eloquent speeches were repeatedly used to mask policies that failed to deliver real results. The presentation was smooth, but the substance, he claimed, never matched the hype.
You to believe, not in my ability to bring about change, but in yours. Yes, we can. Yes, we did. Yes, we can.
Oh, God. It was a moving speech, and the audience response equally moving. So if the Obama presidency were a film, this speech would be the climax. All that's missing is the horse, the sunset, the rousing closing music as the title card reads the end, perhaps in cursive.
Gutfeld framed Obama's presidency as a masterclass in image management. Everything looked refined and historic, but behind the presentation, measurable progress was harder to find. Listening to the praise today, you'd think every major national problem had been solved. But Gutfeld pushed back, pointing to outcomes rather than applause. Beyond headline moments and celebrity appearances, he challenged viewers to identify tangible achievements that improved everyday life in a lasting way.
With somebody that you don't like and you try to lose them at the party, that's what Obama has done to Joe. He's lost them at the party, and now he's moving on, and then he tweets, and then you find out that he's tweeting about something else while you're at the party. And it's just, I think it's kind of mean to Joe. The second thing is that it's part of that I told you mechanism that only happens when things are good. Because do you think Obama would take any responsibility if the good times were actually bad?
Pulling back the curtain further, Gutfeld revisited Obama's early promises. The vision of national renewal sounded inspiring, but by the end of his tenure, many Americans felt stuck in the same struggles. Economic growth lagged, wages barely moved, and optimism faded for large segments of the population. Still, media coverage painted the period as a success story. Gutfeld questioned how stagnant results were repeatedly framed as historic progress, suggesting perception had replaced performance.
President Obama took another stand against evil yesterday, lashing out at ISIS, pernicious gang crime and human rights abuses in left-wing dictatorships like Venezuela and Cuba. I was kidding. He went after Fox News again.
I think the effort to suggest that the poor are sponges, leeches.
The massive stimulus package became another focal point. Marketed as a solution to jumpstart recovery, Gutfeld argued it produced far less impact than promised. Billions were spent, but the long-term benefits proved difficult to identify. In his view, the recovery narrative leaned heavily on messaging rather than measurable job growth, with symbolic signage often outlasting the programs themselves.
In an act of wonderfully skewed priorities, President Obama will appear in a reality TV show in which he gets survival tips from Bear Grylls in Alaska. Funny how far that is from the streets of Chicago, outposts in need of real survival training, much like the streets of Baltimore, Milwaukee, New York, New Orleans, where citizens are ventilated daily.
Healthcare, often described as Obama's signature achievement, didn't escape criticism. Gutfeld revisited the rocky rollout, broken assurances, and rising costs that left many Americans frustrated. Promises about affordability and choice clashed with real-world complexity. He also questioned the Nobel Peace Prize, noting the contrast between global accolades and controversial foreign policy decisions. Surveillance expansion further fueled skepticism, as transparency pledges collided with growing government oversight. For Gutfeld, the gap between rhetoric and reality remained impossible to ignore.
Obama surprised fans on our new podcast by saying her pet peeve about her husband is that he's chronically late. For example, we're still waiting on him to admit he's from Kenya. And as for Barack's pet peeve about Michelle, he's mad that she keeps leaving the toilet seat up. When she cleans it. When she cleans it.
Turning to Wall Street, Gutfeld challenged the idea that Obama governed as a champion of the working class. While campaign rhetoric suggested reform, major financial institutions emerged largely unscathed. Main Street struggled while corporate players recovered quickly. Media coverage, he argued, rarely pressed hard questions, instead framing every move as calculated brilliance. Mistakes were rebranded as nuance, reinforcing a narrative that shielded leadership from serious scrutiny.
And maybe Obama had something to do with today's economy. I mean, without Obama, would we have Trump? Fact is, this debate says a lot about life today. The Trump economy is so great that Trump haters now want credit for it. Next thing you know, Obama will claim credit for putting kids in cages.
Education policy followed a similar pattern, Gutfeld claimed. Increased funding and bureaucratic expansion didn't translate into improved outcomes, particularly in struggling districts. Gun policy speeches contrasted sharply with heavy security measures surrounding political leaders. Immigration enforcement records further complicated the compassionate image often promoted. Gutfeld argued that selective storytelling blurred accountability, leaving voters with a sanitized version of events.
Fact: Obama's now a Republican.
Everyone knows that getting rid of the deficit will require some tough decisions. And that includes cutting back on billions of dollars in programs that a lot of people care about. But what should be easy is getting rid of the pointless waste and stupid spending that doesn't benefit anyone.
National debt growth became another sticking point. Despite mounting deficits, Obama was still frequently described as fiscally responsible. Gutfeld found the contradiction glaring. After leaving office, Obama transitioned smoothly into a cultural icon role, commanding influence without direct responsibility. Meanwhile, many of his policies were undone quickly, highlighting how temporary executive-driven governance can be. Gutfeld suggested durability matters more than symbolism.
On Sunday, Val Jarrett went on CNN to defend her pal, President Obama. I wonder if the president prides himself on the fact that his administration hasn't had a scandal and that he hasn't done something to embarrass himself.
The president prides himself on the fact that his administration hasn't had a scandal and that he hasn't done anything to embarrass himself.
Now that's a low bar for achievement. He hasn't embarrassed himself. But it's true, no one on his staff was caught in bed with a giraffe yet. But to agree with Val, you gotta ignore the IRS, the DOJ, Benghazi, Secret Service, Bo Bergdahl, and the secret server that led to the Orange Crusade.
Unity rhetoric also came under fire. Gutfeld argued that political division intensified, even as speeches emphasized togetherness. Cultural conflicts escalated, public discourse fractured, and disagreement increasingly carried social penalties. He described the administration's approach as carefully choreographed governance, where perception management often overshadowed transparency. Scandals, he claimed, were minimized rather than confronted, protected by favorable coverage.
Today we woke up to breaking news. Obama isn't woke at all.
This idea of purity and you're never compromised and you're always politically woke and all that stuff, you should get over that quickly. The world is messy. There are ambiguities. People who do really good stuff have flaws. Like if I tweet or hashtag about how you didn't do something right or used the wrong verb, or then I can sit back and feel pretty good about myself because, man, you see how woke I was?
Rather than reducing bureaucracy, Gutfeld argued government expansion accelerated. Agencies grew larger, accountability weakened, and complexity increased. Image building replaced reform, and confidence often masked inefficiency. By the end of the presidency, he suggested the country felt more divided and uncertain, despite years of uplifting rhetoric. The applause continued, but results remained contested.
Now, technically, it's a scandal telling America you can keep your doctor, a callous deception that hurts millions. And it's a scandal of will to deny a toxic doctrine fomenting apocalyptic violence. And it's a scandal to ignore the modern Black Death, a plague currently crippling Chicago. Obama's tenure had more dirty linen than Charlie Sheen's hamper. But when your heart's in the right place, doing the wrong thing's always forgivable. And maybe scandal was just so common.
In closing, Gutfeld widened the lens beyond one presidency. He challenged audiences to reconsider polished branding, social media nostalgia, and curated political images. In his view, Obama mastered presentation but left behind cultural consequences still unfolding today. From identity-driven politics to institutional distrust, Gutfeld argued the legacy was far more complicated than commonly portrayed. Leadership, he suggested, should be measured by outcomes, not aesthetics. And as long as speeches continue to overshadow substance, the cycle will repeat, quietly, smoothly, and to enthusiastic applause. And this brings us to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, then hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next.